I was on mute. Okay. Hi there, everyone. Welcome to today's investor education event. I'm Kat Del here to co-host our event with our CEO, Hall Martin, who's going to give you a little more information about what we do here at 10 Capital Hall.
Great, thanks, Kat. I want to thank everybody for joining us today for another great round of presentations. But before we do that, let's welcome everybody here and tell you more about 10 Capital. At heart, 10 Capital helps startups and investors connect for funding. Next slide. We help companies get their fundraise strategy together. We update pitch decks. We help with valuations and many other aspects of the fundraise. We also set up events in both in-person and online. We'll talk more about those in a moment. But at heart, we provide the legwork, saving you time and money. Next slide. We also help form capital for the early stage ecosystem. We help high net worth start family offices as they invest in emerging managers. We help VC funds find limited partners, mostly high net worth and family offices. And we help angel groups find members. So we're forming capital to put more money to work for early stage companies. Next slide. We have several online events. We have a family office roundtable. It's topics related to family offices for those who want to start and run those. Second, we have a virtual quick pitch for technology companies. In these presentations, companies get 10 minutes to pitch, 5-minute Q&A, followed up by breakout rooms at the end. We have a life science syndicate event, which we're holding tomorrow. You're welcome to sign up for that. And then we focus on those on the FDA and digital health path. And today we are in the investor education series. We'll have a topic today. Today will be the 3X and 3 term sheet. And we have done other topics such as AI, deep tech, and how to invest in other sectors. And we'll have 4 presentations today. And finally, we have in-person live events. We'll be in New York next week, October 14th at Lowenstein Sandler. And then we'll be on our way out to Houston in November and LA in December. These are half-day pitch events where you get to meet investors and talk to them directly about your deal. If you want to learn more about our events, just go to 10capital.group. That's our website, and click on the events button. It'll take you to a page with all of our events on it. Next slide. If you're a startup and you're interested in raising funding, take a picture of that QR code and you can then fill out a form, and we'll check to see if that's a good fit for you and see if our program will work. So go ahead and do that, and looking forward to talking with you more about your fundraise as well. Next slide. We'll have a survey at the very end. Look for your feedback. We are looking at updating our formats. We're going to be moving later to a speed match format where we'll have 5-minute pitches, and then we'll have investors in the breakout rooms doing 10 minutes each. We've done this in person and found it really gets people much more engaged, and it makes their time more efficient. And then we'll also do a group setting. Instead of having investors in the audience, we'll have them on the panel, and we'll go through that process. Next slide. We also have a chat bot. We've been working through our online podcast program called Investor Connect for over 10 years now. Have interviewed over 850 angel VC family offices and what they invest and how they invest and what they look for in startups. We also have a startup funding espresso. The time it takes to drink an espresso, you can learn something about startup funding and investing. That's a 300-word micro blog post, 1.5-minute audio. And we have taken all this content and put inside our chat bot called Ava, AI Virtual Assistant. With that, let's hear more about it.
Hi there. I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Ava, your personal AI venture assistant. I'm your new best friend in the world of investing in startups, the 10 Capital AI chatbot. I'm here to make your journey through the startup ecosystem easier, faster, and a lot more fun. Need help finding your next big investment? Or maybe you're a founder looking for fundraising tips? I've got you covered. I pull all my knowledge from over 500 blogs, countless podcasts, and even some nifty calculators, like the How Fundable Is Your Startup tool, to give you the answers you need. So how do I work? Easy. You simply go to where I live on startupfundingespresso.com and look for me in the bottom right. As soon as I appear, go ahead and click on me to let me know you're here. And then there you go. All your questions answered at your fingertips. Whether you're into health tech, biotech, life sciences, or any of the other exciting fields out there, I'm equipped to help you navigate the trends, challenges, and opportunities in each one. Got a question? Just ask. And guess what? I even pull insights from the 10 Capital Network podcast on Investor Connect. It's packed with expert advice, success stories, and more, all designed to help you succeed in the venture capital world. So what are you waiting for? Let's chat. I'm here 24/7 to help you find the right answers, connect with great opportunities, and make the most out of your investments. See you on startupfundingespresso.com.
Great. With that, let's meet our panelists, Mohamed Hachicha. Mohamed, can you tell us more about yourself and Crown Acquisition?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you all for having me. My name is Mohamed Hachicha. I'm the founder and CEO of Crown Acquisition Group. We help startups and small businesses with their finances, accounting, and bookkeeping. We help them with fundraising, and that's why I joined the 10 Capital Network to help companies that need to raise money, whether it's seed, pre-seed, or Series A, Series B.
Great. And with that, let's have our presenter come up, Sanjay Prasad of SurgiQuality. Sanjay, go ahead and launch your slides and kick off with ready. Everyone will have 10 minutes to pitch and 5 minutes of Q&A. Go ahead whenever you're ready.
You see the slides? So you're good?
Yes, we can. We see the disclaimer.
Thank you. Sanjay Prasad. I'm a practicing surgeon for the past 30 years. The healthcare system is seriously broken. What do I mean by that? Nearly 1 in 3 surgeries performed today is unnecessary, and it's coming at a very high cost of $210 billion. And the overall surgical market is about $880 billion. Patients also have very poor outcomes because they're being referred to inept surgeons, because primary care providers are referring on the basis of habit and not objective data. I want you to meet JD. He was diagnosed with a seizure, had an MRI in the emergency room, a white lesion in the brain, thought to be a tumor, was being sent to an academic center for a pretty morbid, expensive surgery. We caught this case on the Friday before surgery, sent this out for multiple opinions. Multiple neurosurgeons reported back, this is not a tumor, but this is a virus. They recommended repeating the MRI. The morning of the surgery, the white spot disappeared on the MRI. The patient avoided the surgery because of our system and the unnecessary complications, tremendous planned savings of over 6 figures. So these are the kinds of things that can happen. So our plan and our solution is nurses that handhold patients, gather their medical records, distribute them to multiple surgeons for multiple opinions, but we go even one step further. We're looking at each surgeon very critically, analyzing their surgical past case records from their electronic medical records, and then we're scoring them with risk adjustment, bringing outcome scoring and multiple opinions onto the dashboard for patients, their primary care, and their navigators. We have a patent on this AI. Essentially, we're taking de-identified past surgical case records from electronic medical record systems, running it through our Gen AI algorithms, creating risk-adjusted outcome scores. And essentially, patients and their navigators and PCPs see different options, ability to compare surgeons, and look at a geographic map and make well-informed decisions. We have a strategic partner in Tendo. Tendo works with hospitals to boost their rankings on several systems. They partner with a lot of the large health systems. This gives us access to tremendous numbers of surgeons. They also partner with large self-insured employers, bringing hospital rankings to those employers. We're adding surgeon quality and information outcome scoring to the mix. It's a tremendous partnership for us. We also have very extensive collaborations with Mayo Clinic and Mayo Clinic Platform, scoring their surgeons, bringing them onto self-insured health plans and employers alike, as well as the University of Pittsburgh Medical Center, and Vori Health, that's currently working with multiple health plans to help get them to the best outcomes surgeon. Our revenue is $2,500 per month per hospital for marketing cost, folded into the Tendo platform, a nominal fee from each surgeon. Mostly the fee is data. And most of our revenue comes from employers and health plans charging $1,000 per surgical case processed. And they achieve a savings of $500 by eliminating unnecessary surgery, uncovering alternative options, and getting the patients and members back to work quickly. Competitors are similar to Tendo. They're connecting patients to surgeons, but they're using very granular measures derived from Medicare and claims. We are much more validated source of data, looking at real, very granular metrics. We could easily partner with each one of our competitors. We've raised $7 million to date. I've put in 2.4 myself. We're enterprise ready, market ready, and all applications auto scale upon demand. The financial projections are robust. We tailored them down for 25 simply because the delay in AI implementation costs, et cetera. But they're robust with growth simply because we're dealing with very large health plans with large volumes of people. Our capital raised $3 million. We'll use it for sales and marketing, onboarding the surgeons, scoring the surgeons, implementing onto various platforms, expanding our Gen AI models. And in terms of potential exit, we foresee a probable acquisition by United Healthcare and maybe even an IPO. Happy to bring SurgiQuality to the mix with you guys. Our team is serial entrepreneurs, world-class people who have exited previous companies to Walmart and Optum. I've written 2 books on the subject. I'm on staff at George Washington University Hospital. We're bringing transparency to the healthcare market, empowering patients with smart information, and creating a better healthcare system for the next generation. Thank you.
Thank you. Great presentation, Sanjay. Let's meet our additional panelists. Shailesh, can you tell us about yourself and then ask your first question?
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm sorry I joined a little late. My name is Dr. Shailesh Chavan. I'm a physician, biotech researcher for 25 years, now pivoting into investments with our own venture studio based out of Boston. Glad to be part of the panel.
Great. And did you have a question for Sanjay? Did you hear much of that?
Yeah, I do. So, I mean, Sanjay, fantastic presentation. Could you maybe speak to, in terms of the, which type of surgeries you think would qualify as potentially unnecessary or could be avoided? And are there surgical groups that you would specifically, at least initially, start with?
Yeah, Mr. Chavan, the biggest problem we have today is spine surgery. If you look at all the different surgeries that are out there, we have a lot of unnecessary fusions that are happening. 80% of spine surgery in Texas, I'm told, are unnecessary. So orthopedics, musculoskeletal is very, very high on our list. Obviously, complex care. Urgent cases, 8% are not amenable to this kind of platform, but 92% in all specialties are amenable, no question.
Thank you.
And Mohamed, what's your first question?
Hey, Sanjay, great presentation. Quick question. Like, it's the second or third time I see it, so I'm getting more familiar with it. How are surgeons' outcome score validated, and who independently audits the methodologies against bias, right? Because like here, it's the database is gonna have to kind of be independently reviewed. So how are you planning to do that?
So the analysis happens with generative AI models, and within generative AI models, obviously there's some hallucination, inaccuracies, et cetera. So we've really covered it over with a rules-based governance framework. So we're using rules-based really to control the Gen AI and also to refine it over time. I hope that makes sense to you. And the market today is using external data from Medicare and claims and trying to glean outcomes. We are on the inside looking at their actual electronic medical records, seeing what procedures they did and what their outcomes were afterwards. So it's a much more validated way of scoring outcomes. I hope that answered your question, Mohamed.
No, 100%. I'm just for you, it's clear, right? Because you're in the kitchen. To the market, how do we make them believe and have the confidence that you have that the rule, like the benchmarking that you're doing, is accurate? And is there any strategy to maybe have some well-known auditors or independent third party kind of validate that data, so it gives you a leg up when people are like questioning whether those claims are true or not?
Well, the surgeons are actually involved in the scoring, Mohamed. They're telling us if there are highly complicated cases, so we're risk adjusting with them. And if we agree, we throw them out of the calculations. And they actually have veto rights. So they're looking at the procedures, they're looking at their own scoring, and they can veto certain procedures that they don't want on the platform. So we give them, it's really a collaboration with the surgeons. So it makes it very, very powerful.
Thank you.
Shailesh, did you have a second question?
Could you speak to the revenue model, or in terms of?
Sure. The revenue model is partly folded into the Tendo model. Tendo today charges $6,500 per hospital per month. And Tendo is wanting to charge an extra $2,500 for our services. As long as they keep it under $10,000 per hospital per month, it's a safe zone, and not a lot of red flags get raised. Most of our revenue comes from employers and health plans. And they pay us $1,000 on average per surgical case that's processed. So every case that comes through, we have a flat fee, $1,000. And why do they want to pay that? They save $500 per member per year simply from eliminating unnecessary surgeries and then things that I mentioned. And if you have to look at it on scale, we're talking about $50 million of savings, $20 million in expense with us for a 100,000 member group. Does that make sense to you?
Great.
Yeah.
And Mohamed, do you have a second question?
In terms of, again, to piggyback on what Shailesh just asked, in terms of the revenue, what do you think is the biggest obstacle for you not reaching those numbers, right? Like, because they are kind of aggressive, Sanjay. I do understand that the medical healthcare field, like once you have a buyer, they could buy a lot of volume.
Mhm.
But what is the biggest risk to that revenue growth, in your opinion?
It's utilization. It's all about, will patients use the information, and then it comes down to how clearly we can show how superior we are to Medicare and claims scoring, and so there will be and our numbers take into account 30% utilization. Maybe that's a bit aggressive early on because usually these apps they don't get used quite a bit, but once. I can tell you that our experience in Michigan is very interesting. Patients who start using our platform don't want to use anything else. Once they start using our platform, they don't want to go to surgeons that don't want to opt out or want to offer their surgical record. So it's very sticky.
Okay, thank you.
Great. And we have time for one more question, Shailesh.
Was it for me?
Yes. We have time for just one more.
One more. Yeah. No, I think, I think this is quite fascinating for me to I wonder in terms of, how surgeons, what's the feedback from surgeons, is there pushback from particular surgeons, and which type of surgeons really like this work? There are issues when it comes to medical legal point of view. What's the early experience?
Yeah, they want to make sure it's de-identified, number one. Data breach is a big problem, right? So we do take de-identified case records, and there will be surgeons that are early adopters, right? The guys who do great work will come aboard the system and use the system. And then there'll be a group of surgeons who will look at their own scoring and say, hey, I must be doing something wrong. Maybe my algorithms are wrong. Maybe I need some proctoring and mentoring. We're hoping that it's going to be a quality improvement tool, Shailesh. It's so important and so needed.
Thank you.
Thanks. And that's our time. Thanks so much, Sanjay. Let's come to our next presenter. We'll have RespirAI, Nimrod. Go ahead and launch your slides and kick off when you're ready.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Hal, for an introduction, and thank you for inviting us to present. I'm Nimrod Binoun. I'm the co-founder and CEO of RespirAI Medical, and we are here to revolutionize the chronic respiratory care. And by using our platform, our innovative AI-driven monitoring platform. We empower millions of chronic respiratory patients to live healthier, longer lives. And just to give you an overview about the total, the world that we are living in. So we are talking about multiple chronic respiratory patients. We're talking about multiple type of diseases, COPD, asthma, CF, even lung cancer these days becoming a chronic disease. And we're talking about 1 billion patients suffering from it. Our first indication is a chronic disease called COPD, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, which is a progressive lung disease which affects mainly by smoking and air pollution. Over 500 million patients suffering from the disease. Half of them are being diagnosed, and 1/4 of them suffer from ongoing exacerbations and ongoing obstruction of their pulmonary airways. It's the 4th leading cause of death today. It's the 4th leading cause of hospitalization. If we're talking about the US, in the US alone, we're talking about 700,000 people hospitalized every year due to the disease. And it's the top 5 most expensive disease to treat. And we are talking about the COPD burden exceeds the $200 billion in direct and indirect costs. Now, imagine yourself lifelong smokers. Patients, it's actually 20% of the patients are smokers and ex-smokers, and they will suffer from the disease. They know that they will face an exacerbations. They know that they will face hospitalizations several times a year due to different reasons. They're afraid to leave their house. They worry about when the next flare-up will happen, and they have no idea what is the current status of the disease. And actually, what if we could change their story? What if we could provide them very simple sensors that collect physiological parameters that can improve dramatically their quality of life? And this is exactly what we are doing. So we are developing a platform that helps COPD patients and their care teams to passively predict and prevent these type of exacerbations. And by then, we can improve the management of COPD at home. We can reduce dramatically the hospitalizations and prove cost-saving benefits to the healthcare system. And the most important thing, we can save their lives. Our platform is divided into 3 main parts. Our heart and brain of the platform is an AI-based patented algorithm, which know how to take a very simple physiological parameters, analyze them, and translate them into alerts, alerts for deterioration of the disease. We are collecting the physiological parameters by using off-the-shelf sensors that know how to collect movement and ECG of these patients, and we can use different type of sensors, chest patches, smartwatches. In the future, probably smart rings will also know how to collect ECG, and the results of the analysis is being monitored at a dedicated and unique dashboard and mobile applications that we are developing. Till today, we had 2 main and big clinical trials. The last one was in 5 sites, recruited over 70 patients, and we actually show in our interim results that we can predict exacerbations even 2 weeks before hospital admission, which actually create a lot of benefits to the healthcare patient, to the care team, and to the patient themselves. And just imagine if a clinician can say that a certain patient will face an exacerbation, will face an hospitalization, he can, by providing very simple solutions like antibiotics or steroids at home, he can reduce dramatically the severity of the exacerbation and can keep this patient at home and save him from the costly hospitalization and save his life. As of today, we are working on 2 different products. The first one is in collaboration of a big home care company called Right at Home. We are monitoring COPD patients at home for longer term with the target to detect exacerbations early and avoid the costly hospitalizations. The second one is in collaboration with Mayo Clinic. It's a study that we already started, managing COPD patients' rehabilitation process after an exacerbation. And here, the target is to reduce the readmission rates following any kind of minimal invasive procedures. And the results of these two products will be actually presented into a unique proprietary dashboard that we are developing. So for the first one, for the first product, the first collaboration, we're talking about a very simple, scalable business model, which is using RPM CPT existing codes. So right at home, providing the care coordinator services, including the service call center services to the patients, providing the alerts to the patients and to the clinicians, and we can enjoy $1,000 per patients per year for using the monitoring platform. The second one, which we are working with Mayo, we are talking about reducing the readmission cost. And in a very simple calculation, we're talking about around $200,000 per site for profit per site for reducing the rehabilitation. And also these sites are suffering from fines from the Medicare, which force them to reduce the readmission rates. And the potential here is huge. We're talking about over $600 million saving in readmission in the US alone. And if we're talking about also the dashboard, so at the end, the information is gathered into one dashboard, which provides all the needed information to the patients, including connecting the patients with this family member and caregiver, monitoring their medication adherence, providing them the actual alerts, the disease educational content, and much more than that. It's going to be a one-stop shop for the clinicians and for the patients. And if we're talking about looking at the timeline, so the first dashboard, the first product is going to be launched in the US at the middle 2026. And then the year after, we are planning to get the regulatory approval for the project with Mayo for monitoring the rehabilitation process, and for the project with Right at Home for monitoring long-term monitoring of COPD patients at home. If we're looking about our competitive landscape, the main player in the market are the questionnaires. Very low accuracy, demand a lot of labor cost, and it's very, very non-sophisticated solution. There are some potential biomarkers that you mainly measure in the blood test. Spirometry is the, let's say, the most advanced solution, which is extremely hard for COPD patients to use. And there are several other digital health solutions which are still in early stages, and none of them got the regulatory approval, and none of them show the ability to early predict the changes in the condition of these patients. So COPD is a huge disease, but it's only the first one in our platform. We are planning the next step to develop also a solution for asthma, lung cancer, IPF, and even heart diseases. We are in discussion to develop a non-regulated wellness applications as well, and to start initiate a collaboration with pharma companies. We are talking about, today we have, we are sitting in Omaha, Nebraska, and we have an R&D teams all around the center in Israel. We are working with multiple PIs in Israel, in Europe, and in the States. And we have a scientific advisory board, mainly in the US and Israel. From financial point of view, as I mentioned before, our first income is planned for 2026. And then the potential for the first two indications will reach to around almost $186 million in 2031. And there are multiple potential of acquirers, including the different type of home care companies, the medical devices, pharmaceutical companies, and we are already starting discussion also with the smart watches, mobile phones companies that are looking for solutions like ours. They have the hardware and they're looking for the applications. So till today, we raised $4.4 million, 2.6 in equity, and the rest on non-dilutive funding. Our main investors are Invest Nebraska, eHealth Ventures. It's a group of investors, including Amgen, Cleveland Clinic, and others, and more. We are looking to raise $5 million with the first closing is by the end of this year of $2.5 million. We already have soft commitment of $1 million with a pre-money valuation of $12 million. That's it, and we're happy to answer any question.
Great presentation, Imran. Mohamed, what's your first question?
Hey, Imran, thank you for the presentation. I have one quick question that I was curious about. Does the accuracy change by device, meaning by ring, patch, or phone?
Again, can you repeat the question?
Does the accuracy change by type of device?
No, we are planning to be, we're going to be, let's say, device agnostic. We are starting our trial with a chest patch and a smartwatch. And the idea is to have a bridge study and to include any kind of smartwatches, including Apple Watch, Garmin, Samsung. At the end, we are looking for a sensor that are FDA approved. And once it's approved, it's supposed, according to our tests, all the endpoints should be the same.
And speaking of FDA approval, what path are you taking with the FDA approval?
Okay, so since we are very innovative, there is no predicate in the market, but also there won't be any need in a very long study. The pathway is the novo one. We're not talking about a large number of several hundred patients for a clinical study, but this is where we are planning to do. This is what we're planning to do.
And what's the success endpoint?
Success endpoint, we are in discussion with the FDA. We are talking about a sensitivity and specificity of, let's say, above 75, 80%, which is totally making sense and achievable. And this is today in our interim result, we're talking about 80, a little bit above 80% sensitivity specificity, which is in line with what the FDA will ask us to perform.
Thank you.
Great. Shailis, what are your questions?
Yeah, thank you, Nimrod. So I have a few questions. You mentioned the sensors are, you're going to have the chest patch and the smartwatch. What will you measure as part of the these, so as to really predict the exacerbations? I think I'm just interested to understand.
So our algorithm know how to analyze two physiological parameters, which includes ECG and movement. We are using a very solid algorithm, which is based on a biocoupling algorithm, which know how to compare the movement and the breathing of the patients. And the breathing of the patients we are taking from the ECG. We know how to analyze the ECG and convert it into a breathing pattern. And this is what we are measuring, the changes in the ability of the patients to synchronize between his movement and breathing. So all we need is a very simple ECG sensor, 2-lead, 1-lead ECG, and a movement accelerometer.
Okay. And you mentioned in terms of your products, the first product was going to be a dashboard, the first generation dashboard platform.
Yeah.
So, and then you're talking about the home monitoring, and then potentially, the rehab, right, piece. So, can you explain to me, like, how will this monitoring be, in terms of revenue, and how does this platform?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the dashboard, the first generation dashboard, it will be launched in the beginning of middle next year. It won't need any regulatory approvals because we are not planning to provide any alerts for the first generation, but it's going to present to the patients, the family members, and the caregivers all kind of general information, including the measurements from their sensors, including educational information, including the ability to connect to their clinicians and to the family members. And we're going to launch it using our strategic partner right at home first to the patients and later on to other, let's say, to new chronic respiratory patients. And at the end, the idea is that these patients will get also the alerts for their exacerbation in that dashboard, and to convert it into a one-stop shop. Just that it will going to be the main dashboard for chronic patients. They will get all the information that they need from this type of dashboard, including the current and the future's information.
Great. And that's our 15 minutes. Thanks, Nimrod. Great presentation. Shailis, Mohamed, great questions. With that, let's bring up our third presenter, Paul Jamay of Angiex. Paul, if you want to launch your slides and kick off when you're ready.
Okay, terrific. Okay. So, sorry about that. All right. So I have a very exciting drug, a very exciting company to tell you about. So Angiex, we were founded by scientists in the field of angiogenesis. They were looking for something that would really transform oncology, a universal therapy for all tumors that works by attacking the tumor blood vessels. And they found it, but it turned out to be something even better than what they had been looking for, because it turned out the same biology which allowed them to attack the angiogenic vessels of the tumor, also allowed us to attack the invasive and metastatic tumor cells and to activate anti-tumor immunity. And this biology in adults is found only in tumors, and therefore there's exceptional safety. So we were able to design a drug that could regress the tumors by each of these three methods, but without harming normal tissue. And so we're now in clinical trials. We've now begun dosing at what we believe is the optimal dose. There have been no adverse effects reported at that dose. We're expecting to see transformative efficacy in all solid cancers in the next few months. And so the investment case is you have the opportunity to come in here just before we prove that we can bring a very safe clinical benefit to every solid cancer patient. So this is what our drug looks like. It's an antibody-drug conjugate. The antibody here in blue provides homing to the cells of the tumor, and it provides internalization within those cells to the nucleus, which is a very favorable place within cells to be able to deliver drugs. Once they get to the nucleus, the antibodies are degraded, and that releases this conjugated payload, which is hidden within the antibody during its transit through the body. But once the antibody is degraded, this is released, and it's able to kill the cells that it gets into. And now we have the first drug, the first antibody-drug conjugate to enter the clinic against this target and using this approach. We've been the only people working in this field for over 20 years. We've been able to get a very strong patent portfolio. The next three slides illustrate the mechanisms by which we get efficacy. So this illustrates the vascular mechanism. So our drug obliterates the small vessels of the tumor. It obliterates the large vessels that feed and drain the tumor. So that's like shutting off the master water valve to a house. No one inside the house can drink. None of these cells in the tumor can get nutrients and oxygen, and that leads to a necrosis in the middle of the tumor. And by this method, we can shrink any tumor down, ultimately to the size of a pinhead, which renders it harmless. We can also kill the tumor cells, and the reason is that the tumor cells are incapable of invasion and metastasis unless they express this. And so in late stage cancer patients, most of the tumor cells are capable of invasion and metastasis, and they are expected to be highly sensitive to our drug. So that's the case across all solid cancers. So this is a comparison with other ADC targets, and we're generally higher and more broadly expressed across all cancers than others. So we have a first indication for approval. It's angiosarcoma. There's currently no approved drug for angiosarcoma. The off-label drugs that are used don't work very well. The second-line standard of care, response rate only 5 to 9%, median progression-free survival 3 months. We expect a 100% response rate, and the progression-free survival may be in years or decades. Beating these two numbers is the bar for accelerated approval, so we should have a very high probability of approval here. We can reach this approval very quickly around end of 2027 or early 2028. Now, I mentioned there's a third mechanism. We activate anti-tumor immunity, and that serves to give us a 70 to 80% response rate in combination with immune checkpoint inhibitors and potentially curative results. And that works even in immunologically cold tumors that don't respond to checkpoint inhibitors. These are drugs that sell $50 billion a year. They're going off patent. They only work in 12% of cancer patients. We have patents on our drug and the combinations extending out almost 20 years. And if we can indeed increase the response rate to 70%, we should be able to enlarge the market and capture a large share of it. So this is where we're at in the clinic. We're very confident that this dose, 6.7 milligram per kilogram, is the optimal dose that will, slightly above the 100% receptor occupancy level, and it should give optimal efficacy while still being very safe. As I mentioned, several patients were dosed 2 weeks ago. No adverse events have been reported so far, so extremely safe drug. We also have patients still on trial from this lower dose. We're about to start combinations with Keytruda and Yervoy. We'll go to a higher dose level that should also be safe. So it's great for regulatory purposes to prove to the FDA that the drug is safe at 50% higher doses than you plan to use in the clinic. This is where we're at valuation-wise. So our valuation right now is in line with other oncology companies that haven't proven that their drug works yet. But ours will be proven very soon. And once we've achieved that proof of concept, which should be around March, comparable companies are valued in the hundreds of millions or even the single-digit billions. I've given a few examples here. And then after approval, antibody-drug conjugate companies have consistently been valued north of 10 billion. We're raising a top-off financing, just-in-time financing process to gather this data. Once the valuation is north of $400 million, we can start raising larger amounts of money to get us to approval. One of those financings will be an IPO, and then we expect to become profitable about a year ahead of approval when we do a co-marketing partnership. So the team, I've got an outstanding team. I myself am a 4-time entrepreneur, a former scientist at MIT, Berkeley, and Harvard, author of a best-selling book. I've led Angiex since its founding 10 years ago. I made it on the executive side by Ian Dukes, our executive chairman. He led business development at Amgen, led business development at Merck before becoming a venture partner at OrbiMed, where he served as CEO or chairman of a number of their companies. And we have top quality people in all the other roles. I'll highlight our CMC team, especially. They're the best in the business for antibody-drug conjugates, between them 7 approved ADCs, $70 billion of corporate acquisitions. Our chief medical officer used to lead oncology research at one of the Harvard hospitals. Our CFO was at Goldman Sachs, led life sciences investment banking, and has been a 4-time biotech CFO. And our founders made the top 2 discoveries in the field of angiogenesis. So this is where we're at. We have major cancer centers activated or coming on board, including MD Anderson in Houston, the University of Southern California, Washington University of St. Louis, Cleveland Clinic, Mayo Clinic, Dana-Farber. So those cancer centers will be able to get us to approval rapidly and include top investigators. So in conclusion, I'd just like to say there's a lot of people who need our drug. One person who would have benefited from our drug is my mother. She was diagnosed with cancer at age 22 when she was pregnant with me. She died at age 33 when I was 10. I keep her picture next to my desk to remind me to work hard. And we think we have a drug which may save 3,000 lives a day. And, so every day is precious. And one of the key things we need to get us to approval as quickly as possible is investor capital. So I hope you'll help us. Thank you.
Great presentation, Paul. Shailesh, what's your first question?
Yeah, it's a great presentation. Could you maybe speak to in terms of the CMC for this ADC, in terms of its manufacturing?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So CMC work is actually the biggest part of the cost. It's probably 60 to 65% of the cost of getting to approval, and it also sets the critical path. It tends to be the leading timeline. Our typically there's two supply chains that you use: an early phase supply chain for early clinical development, which tends to specialize in research and development of processes. And then the larger scale commercial supply chains, their focus tends to be on quality and consistency and less on, development, innovation of process. And so you'll typically transfer in the middle of development to a large scale supply chain. We have the benefit that our small scale supply chain is capable of supporting a commercial product. Only on a small scale, but that's one reason why our lead indication is angiosarcoma, a rare cancer, so that can be served by our existing supply chain. So we'll get to approval very quickly, so that early supply chain can get us our commercial quality material by early 2027. And you need commercial material to do a registrational trial, so we can do the registrational trial in 2027, and that can bring us to approval either at the end of 2027 or early 2028. And that's in relatively rare cancers. It would take about an extra year to get a larger scale supply chain up and running with a supplemental BLA to serve large market cancers.
Can I ask another question?
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, and I didn't hear how much are you raising, and so with your phase 2 work, provided that phase 1 shows, in terms of you identify the dose and then go, how much are you raising, and what would your phase 2 look like?
So right now we have runway until March, and we're expecting about 20 patient responses in the first quarter. So by the end of March, 20 responses. So that's proof of concept. That's out of about 30 patients, so maybe a 70% response rate in a patient population with late stage multiple metastatic tumors. They failed every approved drug, 0% response rate to other drugs. So, that'll be very impressive. So right now we're really just raising on a just-in-time basis at about our burn rate. We're seeking to raise about $5 million a quarter so that we don't run out of money and don't lose bargaining leverage by having short runway. But we really don't want to raise a large amount until the valuation has increased.
Great. Mohamed, what are your questions?
Hey, Paul, how are you? What's
Good.
the biggest CMC bottleneck today?
Well, there's a bunch of them, but they all get resolved in parallel. So analytical assays have to be refined in some cases. There's various process characterization issues, so things beyond, not requirements that that each batch has to meet, but you have to characterize the product in various softer ways, and the FDA has to sign off that you've sufficiently characterized it. There's kind of secondary indications like cost of goods sold, ability to scale up, so you have to establish that you can go to higher and higher scales, and that you can bring the cost of goods sold down as far as possible, which is mainly done by increasing the yield, which also enables us to actually serve our markets, because our markets are so large that if we don't get to high yields, then there's just not enough capacity in the world to produce enough drug. But mainly it's you have to do repeated batches. You have to prove that you can produce exactly the same drug each time. There's just quite a bit of work involved to making sure everything is very consistent, and that you can accurately measure everything and prove that you're consistent every time. And you have good quality procedures and so on. So it's just not possible to do it without repeated production, and every production run is $5 million or more. So it adds up.
Costly. Thank you.
Great. That's our 15 minutes. Thanks so much, guys, for a great presentation and great questions. We'll go to our fourth presenter. We have with us Combat Medical. Guy, if you can launch your slides to kick off when ready.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for inviting me along. Apologies for the lighting in this room. Just a ghostly appearance. I note I'm a surgeon too. I'm an orthopedic surgeon. I note from Sanjay's opening comments that he put in 2.4 million pounds of his own money into the company. The doctors have just gone on strike in the UK today because we aren't paid enough. So you question your life choices sometimes. But anyway, let me tell you a little bit about Combat Medical and what we do today. Screen is coming, it's coming. I have dodgy hotel Wi-Fi to go along with the lighting. Can you see my screen? No, I think is the answer.
It's coming up, so if you want to go and kick off, I think we'll catch up in a moment.
There we go, we get there. So hello, I'm Dr. Guy Cooper. I'm the BizDev guy. Our CEO is at his stepdaughter's 16th birthday party tonight, so that's a celebration or a commiseration, I'm unsure, the things that are coming to him. So I step in today. We are a medtech company who are looking for $2.5 million to close out a 5 million round, half of which is already committed. There is no innovation that's effective, affordable, and tolerable in the world's most expensive cancer. It's a big opening statement, but it's true. The various medical minds in the room will know that bladder cancer is a huge problem, fourth most common malignancy in men, and something that hasn't changed in its treatment for more than 40 years. Ourselves as a business, we've done more than 100,000 procedures. We are present in more than 30 countries worldwide. Our 24 revenue is $4.3 million with a positive EBITDA of 700,000. We have many clinical publications and patents, and we are applicable not only in bladder cancer, but through the larger box you see at the back there into various other markets. Our FDA trial has been launched. This money is to pay for the second half of that. What we do is we deliver targeted hypothermic drugs to the bladder or to the abdomen, to any space within the body. This delivers the drug only to the affected organ with low side effects and no systemic side effects. We work by very accurately heating the drug, which in turn heats the tissues. The precise temperature and pressure control here are what makes the product tolerable and effective. It's very user-friendly. It fits in with existing practices, and it's agnostic to the drugs that are used. Why hypothermia? Heating up the drug heats the organ. What does heating the organ do? Well, if I have a hot cup of tea, I can dissolve more sugar in it than a cold cup of tea. 40% more mitomycin C dissolves in bladder urothelium at 43 degrees than at 37 degrees. If I take everybody back to their chemistry classes at school, if you wanted the reaction to work quicker, you heated it up. Heat is a catalyst, 80% greater cell death at 43 degrees. And here we see every Englishman on holiday in California or Florida. Cells don't like being heated up. When you heat the cells, it leads not only to some direct thermal cell death, but cells give off proteins that act to bring in a T-cell mediated immune response. Standardly today, a patient will present with bladder cancer or with blood in the urine, have their cancer removed, and then have up to 27 treatments of immunotherapy into their bladder, or around 15 treatments of chemotherapy into their bladder. But 80% of patients have recurrence, 50% of which in the first year. Ultimately, if this keeps happening, the patient will have their bladder removed and a lifetime of continence care. With HIVEC, with our product, a similar pathway, but 15 treatments for a year with much lower side effects, a reduced recurrence rate, a reduced progression rate of the cancer, so the cancer doesn't come back worse, and many, many more bladders saved. The results of a clinical paper, one of our many clinical papers that we've had done with 174 patients who have failed standard therapy. If we look at this group at the top, the 54 patients who have this carcinoma in situ, the worst disease, so these are the worst patients. At a year, nearly 70% of our patients are cancer-free. Now, is that a good result or a bad result? I don't know. Well, let's take a look. Our friends at Merck, with their small $29.5 billion drug Keytruda, got an FDA approval based on 41% complete response at 3 months. 6 out of 10 of their patients had cancer again after 12 weeks. Ferring, another large pharmaceutical company, their drug shows 53% complete response at 3 months. CG Oncology, a new company specific in this area who have just launched or launched last year on the stock market on the NASDAQ for nearly $2 billion, 68% at 3 months, not at a year, at 3 months. Immunity Bio, another new co who launched again on the NASDAQ last year for just over $2 billion, 62% at 3 months. So let's take a look. What does this mean? For us, at 12 months, for 10 patients, 7 out of 10 keep their bladder. Let's look at our friends from Merck with their $29 billion FDA-approved product. After 3 months, 6 out of 10 patients have lost their bladder. We're trying to now show this in a larger data set with the FDA-approved clinical trial that's going on in the UK. We expect interim results at the end of next year and FDA approval in 29. Our pathway is this 505(b)(2) pathway for a drug-device combination. We are present throughout the world already with a big gap in the US. If we look at our serviceable market, 10,000 patients in the US have 15 treatments each, $4,000 per disposable kit, 600 million USA revenue. Total addressable market globally, the varying price point on 800,000 patients, near 9 billion revenue. This market is becoming much bigger. The new companies are coming in. J&J had a drug approved that's about half as effective as ours about 2 weeks ago. How do we sell today? Well, a patient has a value on the spend on the device of around $4,000 in the US, in Europe, and about $60,000 in the USA. We sell through placing relatively low cost capital equipment and then selling the consumables with high gross margins. We currently have in place a third-party distributor network throughout the world, and our product mix is now mostly consumable items. We've been doing this for 10 years, so we have a good manufacturing and supply chain ready. Sales projected to exceed 100 million by 2030, even if we just continue to do what we are doing today. an experienced management team, both in terms of development and exit. And our clinical team reads like a global who's who of bladder cancer and hypothermic cancer treatments. So there's no innovation that's effective, affordable, and tolerable in the world's most expensive cancer until now. The solution that we show, we compare it to some of these small multi-billion-dollar companies. We show a cancer-free state of nearly 70% of the year. These guys vary between 40 and 70% at 3 months, with those figures halving and worse at the year point. Profitable yet affordable treatments. The current treatments in the US are costing upwards of half a billion dollars per patient. No side effects, as opposed to the high side effects of some of these systemic products. We've done more than 100,000 treatments. These products are all very, very new. In terms of funding, we're looking for 2.5 to close out a 5 million round. We see our first inflection next year upon results, initial results being published. Second inflection in 29 with the FDA approval, at which stage we would look to a trade sale to one of the large blue chip urology or oncology companies or an IPO. Thank you.
Great presentation, Guy. Mohamed, what's your first question?
Hey, Guy, how are you?
Fine, thank you.
So just a quick question for me. Reliability, real world temperature control tolerance and maintenance burden versus competing heated delivery systems. Like what do you...
This is the central tenet of our technology. Anybody can heat a fluid plus or minus 2 or 3 degrees. That's pretty straightforward. The air conditioning in this terrible hotel room tells me 22 degrees. It's probably right 2 or 3 degrees either way. We heat the tissue plus or minus 0.14 degrees, and that's a study out of Duke University in the US. That's why it's tolerable. That's why the patients can use it in an outpatient department. The nurses can administer it without the patient screaming and jumping up and down, and it's a tolerable, usable. We're a heating things up company, really. If we could find a way of accurately heating something and sticking it up your nose, we would do that. But that's really where our central technology lies. You're quite right.
All right. And if you were to highlight the 2 key achievements that you need to do over the next 3 to 6 months, what would they be?
We need to continue to recruit at a reasonable pace. It'll be 50 centers by Christmas, so that we can get to that initial data point at this time next year. And as with all companies our size, I suspect we need to not run out of money. Our existing runway takes us to this time next year, but a little bit more would be nice.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Chance. What are your questions?
Yeah, Guy, good presentation. So still not clear in terms of the HIVEX technology. Could you maybe speak to, you said they've done about 100,000 procedures, and
a little bit more, yeah.
And then also the interim results. Could you also speak to what the procedures have been done so far? And second question is, could you expand on the ongoing clinical trial? What phase is it, and what is that going to show? What are the comparators in terms of this study? Is it in what kind of patient subsets are you testing this?
Yeah, no problem. So most of our procedures are done with our urology product. We're probably about a 80-20 split. That's equalizing a bit as we go forward, but not so much. A patient gets 15 treatments. So if you can do the maths on what 80,000 divided by 15 is, that's how many patients we've done. It's a very straightforward procedure using a single-use consumable, which is where our money comes from. And we have probably 50 clinical papers published by our doctors around the world The best of them is the retrospective analysis that I showed there, at least on the largest number set, where we're showing roughly 70% of the very worst patients, those who've failed conventional therapy, whose really only option should be to have their bladder removed, which is of course curative, but your kidneys don't know that your bladder isn't there anymore. So you only have a lifetime of continence care left to deal with. Many patients refuse this, or it's a disease of the relatively elderly, so many patients are not fit for this. Plus, of course, it's perhaps not what we should be doing. So that's where we come in as a bladder sparing procedure. All of our results are showing in the worst patients, something between 60 and 70% of them complete response at that year point. We're very lucky in a way with bladder cancer. If I was still working in orthopedics and you put in a new hip, you need a 5-10 year follow-up to know if it's worked or not. Unfortunately, these BCG failure, primary therapy failure bladder cancer patients, a 3-month result is good enough. The FDA will arguably approve us on a 3-month follow-up. It's terrible, really. 12 weeks later, we're looking to see whether your cancer's come back or not. But that's where we are. So this is a phase 2 study, single arm, which the FDA have approved because you can't really compare it to anything else. In 2 subgroups, 238 patients. It'll probably take us 2 years to fully recruit, but I have a sneaking suspicion that our valuation inflection off the first 75 or so patients the end of next year will cause some big nasty blue chip urology company to come and offer us, what's the number, $1 billion, $2 billion, spin a coin.
Great. Thanks so much. Great presentation. That's the end of our time, show. It's great.
Lovely.
Thank you for your questions. And Mohamed, thank you for your questions as well. We do have a short presentation on 3X and 3 that I wanted to show you guys and those in the audience as well, where we're talking about a new type of term sheet here. And let me get this up here for you guys to see. We'll just take a few moments to walk through it, and then we'll go to breakout rooms so you can talk with the panelists that we have here. So I've been a longtime angel investor, and one of the challenges I found with that is that I put my money in when we're all on the equity track. And what I found is about year 3, I find out which way it's really going. Are they continuing on the equity path? We're raising more money, we're increasing valuation, or have they decided that there really is no equity exit and they move to what I call the payroll exit? And it kept happening to me over and over again. And then I decided, well, ask myself one day, well, how do I solve this problem? And I kept thinking to myself, I don't want to be on my plan. I want to be on your plan, you know, to the founders. How do I get on your plan? Because with equity, once you're on there, the only way out is with an exit of some kind, or they may dividend something out, but there really was no money in that. And so I came up with this model that is basically a convertible note that at year 3, it converts into a revenue share agreement if you want it to. So just a little bit 10 capital and so forth. And this is the story I was telling you. I invested in the company 2003. By 2006, they came to me saying, I think we ought to take all of our employees to market rate salaries. And I kept asking myself, that sounds right. But then I thought, well, no, that's wrong. And what I realized is, well, no, they're no longer the equity exit path. They're now on the payroll path, and they're leaving me stranded on Equity Island, and wanted to get off Equity Island. How do I do that? And so basically it was a 3-year convertible note that at the end of year 3 gives me the right to either go on the cap table for the amount I invested, 25 in, is 25 on the cap table, or go on a revenue share agreement for 3X the amount. So 25 times 3 is 75. I would get paid out $75K on a revenue share agreement, 2-3% of top line revenue until they pay it out. Along the way, others have come up with other payment plans, but that was a universal one that would work for everybody. And there is a mantra in the angel world that they want 3 to 5 times their money in 3 to 5 years. And this was one way to kind of get back to that world. I did get an exit earlier this year, really nice exit, 44% IRR, really happy to have it. It was 11-year hold. And when you're out raising money and you see the look on people's face about making an investment you sense hesitation. And what I think the hesitation is that, well, the last deal I was in was for 10 years. Is this going to be another 10-year hold? And so they're slow to pull the trigger on that. And that's why I wanted to come up with another plan. The first thing I always tell angel investors is that there's return on investment and there's IRR. The difference is time. If you're in the one deal longer than the other, it will have a lower IRR. But the ROI will be the same. But if you're in there getting out faster, well, you'll have a higher IRR. And as an investor, you should be measuring your returns in internal rate of return, not return on investment. And if you look at these numbers here, what you'll find is that, I could have, if I have a 3X and 3, in 3 years, I could put in 50K and get 150K out. If that is a 44% IRR, but ROI is 3X. If I did it in 5 years, that's a 25% IRR, but it's still a 3X ROI. And so what I found is out of every 10 deals, one was a home run hit. Great, be on the equity path. One went bankrupt, it went away completely. 2 or 3 were good returns, 2, 3X is what they were. And the other 5 were going sideways. And that was actually the death spot, because you don't get a tax write-off for it going away, and you don't get a gain for selling it. And so that's where I kept finding myself, was in the death spot there. And the reality is not all startups make it all the way through. Only 16% make it to an exit, and have found that many investors are looking for alternative exits on these. And moving to a revenue share agreement is one way to do that. And it helps define the exit. At the end of year 3, this term sheet lets you convert to revenue share. And what I found is that people get quite creative with it. The founder wants you to stay in. Oh, by the way, half want you to stay in, half want you to go out. If they want you to stay in, they'll offer you a last round valuation instead of this round valuation on the conversion to equity. Or if they want you to go out, they'll say, well, I'll give you 4X your money instead of 3X if you'll take the cash and move out, because I want the equity back. And for all kinds of reasons, they need more equity back to fund a Series A with a VC who needs 20-25% of the deal. Given away too much already, it can be hard to do in some cases. Or there's just people that think that this is going to be a home run myself, and I want the equity for myself. So I found it was very negotiable what people did at the end of year 3. And so there are many options that go into this tool. For those on the life science path, it does make sense if you're in licensing and partnering. And if that's part of your game plan, this could be applied to you. If you're not doing that, and we're going to go all the way through FDA, then in most cases, this is probably not going to fit what you're doing. But on the tech side, it fits very well, and something to consider for your fundraise. We have a group of investors, there's about 260 of them, that follow me on these deals, where we put in money anywhere from 250 to 500. It tends to be a little more transactional, because they know I could get the 3X out of it at some point. And so it's basically at the end of year 3, you choose one or the other path. If you're on the revenue share agreement, you get a monthly check for however much your revenue share is, until you get to your 3X window on it. Historically, we've done about a dozen deals. All of them worked out well except one. The one that did not work out well took too much money on it. We recommend 500K on these deals. They took 2 million, and then that plus other decisions put them under. So it's a great way to raise money if you're looking to get 500K pretty quickly, because the investors are treating it a little bit more quantitatively than they do equity deals, where they're wondering when the exit might be. Here, there is an equity path that you can go on to it. And if they were able to pay all 3X at year 3, that's a 44% IRR, which is quite spectacular. Most do not. Most have a revenue share agreement that takes 2 years to pay out. And that's what it looks like. And so to get a 44% IRR after 10 years, you need to have like a 40X return. Those do exist. I've had some of those, but there's not very many of them as well. So to get that level of IRR is spectacular. Have found many startups are very open to this, and found many investors very interested. I've had 2 angel groups come to me saying, we're going to base our next fund on this, and we want to do that. And so you'll start to see this come out more and more. In the consumer product good world, you see this quite a bit. Many CPG companies just don't get a 10x offer from Google anytime soon, so they're looking for other ways to pay back the investors, and many of them are choosing this model as well. So if anybody's interested in this, I'll be in a breakout room. Let me know, and I'll be glad to come and talk to you about would this fit your deal. If you're on our program, we can set up a time to talk about it anyway as well. So this is 10 Capital. What we're doing here, we're helping startups investors connect for funding, and for some deals, this may be a good option for you to consider as well. I'll be glad to tell you guys more about it. Any questions before we go to breakout rooms, guys? Okay, well, with that, let's go ahead and move to breakout rooms. I want to thank you guys for joining us today, and looking forward to Shailesh and Mohamed and I will be around to talk with you as well. And those in the audience can come and join us. So with that, we'll join into the breakout rooms. You see it on the screen, so whenever you're ready, just join in on that. Thank you guys for a great presentation and great questions, and we'll see you next time. When you're finished with the breakout rooms, you're free to go. Thank you for joining us.